Hello and welcome to GG's Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, with myself, Kate Tracey. Dave Young and Andrew Mount is back again after the Easter holidays to preview hopefully some sort of action this weekend, because of course the weather continues to play havoc with us as it did last weekend. This weekend, at this stage, we're not expecting Kelso to go ahead, but miracles do happen. And we're going to continue to preview the current ITV televised races in the hope that all still goes ahead. But of course, we do have the weather at Kempton to look forward to then as well. But we're going to kickstart at Kelso with the 150 handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 3 mile 2. So then, Dave, I'll let you kickstart with Kelso, and we're just going to pretend that it's all going ahead at this stage.
Yeah, it's one of those memes, isn't it, where there's the guy sat in a load of flames, everything's fine, it'll be okay. But there's some good racing there. Like you say, miracles can happen, so let's believe that something will happen. It's a miracle how the Skelton's got Major Fortune to running a handicap off of 81. He's now up to 112. Definitely warrants being favourite. He's won his last couple of starts. They both come on heavy ground. The first time he did run on a handicap, he did get beat, but that was back at 2 miles. They've obviously found the key to him, that stepping up in trip and obviously the slow boaty ground as well would suit him if they do run. So he'd swim around 3 miles and probably win this if he does run. I'll give a mention to Fleur, because if Fleur runs, another one of these horses will be fine on really bad ground. I liked this horse a long time ago. He's never really fulfilled his promise, but he was over fences for Rebecca Menzies' first time at this track. Then a couple of starts after, they went back to hurdles just to switch things up, and he was beating a nose at 50 to 1. He's about the same sort of price in this race again. So while he's massively inconsistent, it's worth a mention at 50 to 1, surely.
Yeah, 50 to 1 shot then for Fleur in this one. But your main play, though, is going to be Major Fortune, I'm guessing, in terms of main play. And it's an each-way plus race with BetMGM as well, with 4 places on offer. So a nice shout for a 50 to 1 shot in there. Andrew, heavy ground performers should Kelso go ahead. So where were you looking?
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Nice to be back. I thought you were going to say, in talking of never having fulfilled his promises, Andrew Mount. So yeah, bless you for not.
Avoided it.
Yeah, a couple of runners that interest me here. One of them is qualifier on the old Fame and Glory 8-year-olds or older system, which is Ali Rose, who, true to form, won on her first start as an 8-year-old in January. Pulled up last time out, but that was in a listed handicap hurdle at the DRF, and she was 33 to 1 behind Maxim. Now, she's won twice during the month of April, last year and the year before, so she's obviously capable of running well at this time of year, and I thought she could go well. But the one I'm slightly more interested in is Dare to Shout for Anne Hamilton. Now, Anna Hamilton started the season well. She won with 3 of her first 6 runners in October, and then her form started to tail off. And she drew a blank in November, December, January, and her horses have started running well again. And Dare to Shout, after a couple of shockers, ran here over course of distance last time out. Only went down by half a length in second. That was on soft ground. And his only other run here at Kelso, he did win quite comfortably. So with the yard emerging from a difficult spell this winter, Dare to Shout, I think, could be the value.
Up to 1 shot for a horse that's got that course winning form as well. Dare to Shout up at Kelso. Right, Kempton now. We switch coast to the all-weather. This is for the listed Snowdrop Filly Stakes for the 4-year-olds and over a mile. Now, this is pretty open here, Andrew. 4 to 1 the field. So how did you separate these fillies?
Yeah, it's an interesting race. A lot of people, you look at the last 10 winners, you go, oh, 9 winners raced 4, but that's not statistically significant. The expected number of winners for those 9 was 8.92. There weren't many 5-year-olds, so don't get carried away by the age of the previous winners. The betting's been a much better guide. All the last 10 winners were in the top 3 in the betting. And if you just back the favourite, you'd have found 6 winners from 13 bets. Obviously, there was a couple of joint favourites in there, and made a profit of £6.39. Now, the one I was interested in is Choisya for the Crisfords. Got a good record at a mile in the past year. 5 runs, 3 wins, 2 seconds. The second by a nose and 3/4 of a length. So I was going to side with her. Adelaide is near the head of the betting for Joseph O'Brien, sort of 7s into 5s, I think, recently. But this one's hard to win with, and many tiers. I wasn't sure whether this one would get this strong pace that was needed on her first run for a new yard. But she does like Polytrack, as many showcasing progeny do. But I'll go with, looking towards the head of the market, looking at Choisya, around about 9-2 second favourite at the time of recording.
Oh, I'm pleased that you said that, and also pleased that, because I can never remember how to pronounce this filly's name. I can never remember if it's Choisya or Choisya or...
It's long odds on. I mean, it's probably a bigger certainty that I've got this pronunciation wrong than Kelso being off. That's how bad my pronunciation is.
No, I was waiting for you to do it, because this was one where I swear she's been called for 2 different versions throughout her career as well. But I'm so pleased you like her, because she is my selection here as well. Of course, one of the top joint rated then in this one, and of course for the Inform Crisford team, who looks to be set for a really big season on the turf as well then, and they've obviously won with the last 2 runners as we record on Thursday afternoon. And I thought this filly looked capable of picking up from where she left off last season. Of course, we don't know quite her record then, first time up with her being lightly raced, but last year she did win on her second start after a 2-month break, and her success over this course and distance last time out, as you've just said, was very likeable, suggesting that she was a black type filly in waiting, because her success in that handicap suggested that listed company was the next step up then for her. When she and Julia Augusta took on the boys, forced out a tight finish there. Her mark rose to 100 on the back of that, but that clearly puts her right there. And listed company now returned to this course and distance, getting £3 from the current favourite as well. Many tears. So, Dave, Andrew and I both with Choisya, Choisya. How do we pronounce her name if you are siding with her? If not, why not?
So I watch back the videos of the ones that I can't pronounce, not all the time, but often. And the last time it ran, it was the Kempton race I watched where it beat Julia Augusta, was Choisya is the way that I like hyphenated it on there.
And with that kind of punctuation as well, I'm sure.
But then it goes into a head bobber and he says it slightly differently. So I was just like,
yes.
You know what, I'm just going to go for whatever number it is. But no, that's the one that I fancy well. We've got all 3 of us. It's the Triple Crown. You talk about that Julia Augusta race as well. You watch it, and I've watched it again, like I say, just catch the pronunciation of the name. It was also from like a formy perspective. But the horse comes to Choisya, and then she still digs in and finds more. So it's one of those, the camera angle at Kempton's often a little bit deceptive. You'd look at it and think, oh, if they met again, that maybe the runner-up would have picked him up. But she wouldn't have done. She beat her again, and she's £6 better off as well. So there's obviously more horses to beat than just her in the race. But our last couple of RPRs, 103, 107, they're better than anything the remainder of the field has ever posted and probably ever would. I do think he's got a real nice, likable profile stepping into the listed company from handicaps. I do want to give a bit of a mention. This is not a betting perspective, like a view of it, but the last time Kieran Fallon rode, Mystic Pearl was only beaten half a length as favourite. Time Priory was only 3/4 of a length beaten. She picked up a listed race at Sandown, so has already won at this type of class last summer, and she's been running in group races since then. Didn't really seem to be in love with things in Meydan. Could have been the track, but they're putting cheap pieces on this time. I'm not entirely convinced she's ever needed them. I don't think those short margin defeats have been because she's not truly herself, but those last couple of runs in Meydan, maybe there's some reason why they've plucked them on. She hasn't been running well those last twice, like I just touched on, but if you go back to her Group 3 form, the race before where she was narrowly beaten at Deauville, she's a proper chance on there. So I wouldn't sleep on her. If she's well supported, it'd be interesting, but Choisya, for all 3 of us, will win the 205, fingers crossed.
And 3 different pronunciations as well than of her name. So ideal. There's your hat trick landed in that sense. But of course, that was the Snowdrop Fillies listed stakes then at Kempton. As we head north again now, back to Kelso for a series final handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 5 at 225. Now 6-1 joint favourites at the head of the market here. So Dave, how did you split these? This is super competitive.
It is super competitive, but there's one that I really liked in it. So either Kelso being, if it's potentially off, it's going to do me a favour and save me a few quid, or it's going to ruin me because it could have been the best Saturday of my life. I really fancy North Parade if the meeting did go ahead. 2 from 2 over obstacles on heavy ground was 3rd in a bumper, but obviously the 2 from 2 over obstacles sounds better, doesn't it? Even his tough ground form figures read pretty nicely, so I've included all of them. 5th, 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. He's had 3 runs at 2 miles, 4.5 furlongs. This is 2 mile 5, so it's as close as you can get to the trip. He's won each of those, including a good ground win. So as much as I've talked about his heavy ground form, the trip was key to him, I think, as much as the ground was. His penultimate start, he was 5 lengths third to Uncle Bert. That was over 2 miles, 3.5, so a little bit shorter than he needed, but he was closest at the line. The winner is up £12 since then. He bolted up over the same trip the next time out at Binger. At Banger. But yeah, the last time he ran as well, they stuck him up over 3 miles. I don't think he really wanted to be running over that far of a trip. It seemed like a little bit of a prep run maybe for this meeting. It's a big enough meeting for some trainers to target. The horse he was beaten by that day as well was a handicap debutant, also trying 3 miles at the first time, was favourite, so he was likely to be beaten in that particular instance. Jumping isn't the best, but he does seem to get away with it in all his races, and he has run once at Kelso and he did hang. But he's won left-handed at Newcastle 3 times when he got that hat-trick this season. I just put a line through that run at Kelso the first time. I don't think it was the track or anything like that. I just think on that day, he just wasn't really going. So I think North Parade, 7-1 is at the time of recording. I'd have him like a shorter priced favourite than that. I think he's got a proper chance. But the fact that he doesn't jump so well, maybe people don't want to take him on. But if the meeting went ahead, North Parade would be a sort of get stuck in one, I reckon.
Okay, like it a lot then. North Parade, like I say, 7-1 for a consistent type, but maybe that jumping factor is factored into his price. But of course, the 16 runners here, each way class race, 5 places on offer. Andrew, are you going to try and utilize that angle, or are you going straight for the win?
No, because the meeting will be off, but for the purposes of this podcast and video, I'll pretend that there's going to be a dry spell.
Suspend your disbelief just for this.
Okay, I'm far too cynical to do that, but I'll give it a try. There was a couple of interests. Leslie's Legacy, last year's winner, runs off the same mark. I thought that one was one who could sneak into the frame. Finished second on very soft ground at Newcastle last time out. But more interesting was another one that I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of, and that's Eloi Du Puy. Eloi Du Puy for Nick Alexander. This one's developed into a real Kelso expert, and his last 4 runs of this track have produced 3 wins and a second to Nab Wood. Nab Wood, a very progressive individual trained by Nicky Richards, who is filed under the could be anything category. His absence from this meeting suggests perhaps that Nicky Richards looked out the window and saw the weather, or that maybe he's going to Aintree, or has got a bigger target at Ayr perhaps in the spring. So yeah, given his course form, I've got to be with Eloi Du Puy here.
8-1. Let's say that course and distance form then to his name, Eloi Du Puy. We are happy to go with that. That was a 2:25 at Kelso. Now we head back to Kempton for the 2:40. This is the Rosebery handicap, a 0-105 contest for 4-year-olds and over a mile 3. Now we talk about open contest today. This is yet another one, Andrew, for you to go at. 9-2 the field. Old Harrovian on his reappearance start. First time tongue tie heading the way.
Yeah, he's 2 from 2 on the all-weather. Can race keenly. First time tongue tie goes on, and you'd imagine that there's some big field and likely strong paces go to suit. He's the only one I sort of liked of those at the head of the betting. A lot of the others I thought had holes in them. Chillingham was due to run at Musselburgh. This looks like a bit of an afterthought. He's 3 from 7 on turf, 0 from 3 on the all-weather. All those runs came on Capita. He did run second on one of them, but this is his Polytrack debut. Intinso, I wasn't usually keen on. Another can race keenly. And he's had a recent outing as well, which has not been ideal for this race. In the past 10 renewals, going across 11 years, those who raced within the past 6 weeks, just 1 from 43, a loss of £39 backing them blind. Killybegs Warrior is a horse I like, but only on the July course. He's 3 from 3 there, but 0 from 14 elsewhere. Laffy's best on soft and heavy ground, and I thought Cannon Rock might bounce. That comeback effort came after a long break, and it's his second run after that long absence. So you can pick holes in quite a few of these, apart from Old Harrovian, I thought. So Captain Whizbang, or Captain Weersba for Rafe Beckett. Number 8 was half interesting as well, having been gelded since we last saw him 337 days ago. Youthful King ran well at Lingfield on all-weather finals day, but I thought, being by Fountain of Youth, he's more interesting when he goes back on turf. But it wouldn't surprise me if there was a sort of a funny one here. So if you can make a case for something like Londoner on its debut for Jim Golding, Duke de Kent, coming out of a good draw in stall 3 for Ian Williams, and I certainly wouldn't put you off. I'll probably load the play spot with some of the rats, but I'll go Old Harrovian just because he seemed the most solid of those at the head of the betting.
Yeah, in terms of a selection, then for now to nail you down to one, old Harrovian, understand that. But a race that, if there was a bit of a springer in here, it wouldn't surprise you if one of the outsiders went in. Dave, which end of the market were you looking at, or right in the middle?
I know, still towards the front end of the market is always. I think it's enjoyable to go second to Andrew when it's races like this as well, because obviously he's got some strong opinions, pulls out the stats, and then you sit there thinking, oh, I've got to now try and make a case to one, but he's poo-pooed in there. But yeah, touched on the fact Chillingham was obviously supposed to be seen last week, so definitely a bit of an afterthought. And obviously we've touched on the fact that he's probably better on the turf as well. But he was relatively well fancied last week, wouldn't he? So he wouldn't be the biggest shock, but yeah, we wouldn't want to be actually betting him, I don't think. Intinso was the one that I did like, though. I remember this horse when he ran at Ascot. He's always had a bit of a weird head carriage that he sticked it out to the right. Now, when he ran last time out, that was the first time after being gelded under Holly Doyle, he was keen. And it looked a bit like he was tugging that way because he did hang towards the rail. He hung left in the latter stages. And I sort of wondered in the race, maybe if she was tugging him a bit too much on the right, that's why he was turning his head. But he always does it. Now, that was after quite a long layoff. I know Andrew says that obviously the record of coming in here like relatively like fresh is better. I mean, it's clearly a lot better. But I think there's a lot to work on from that first performance, to be honest with you. When he, like I say, when he ran at Ascot, he had every reason to hang. If this big wide open track, if he was going to hang out to the left and go all the way over the other side, it would have been a problem there. I don't think it was at Kempton. I think he's got loads of ability. I think he's got the profile for me as a type of horse that after that first win, especially after being gelded, would actually fulfill his promise. I don't think he ever really showed everything he could have done beforehand. Like I say, that head carriage and a bit of keenness. So maybe a horse like him that can be keen, having the recent run will help him. He won't be as keen this time out. And in doing so, I think he can step up from that last run. I was suitably impressed for all the fact that he was a 2s on poke, or 8 to 15, I think. I thought he went about the race really nicely. And it's nice to see some of the old character in these horses as well when they have such a big physical procedure. Sometimes they look a shadow of their former self. He looked like he was loving life, and I think Intinso can buck those trends and make it 2 from 40 or whatever the stat would be. I quite like him.
Yeah, and like I say, on the back of that success last time out, and potentially more to come from him on the gelding operation, 5-1 shot in here. I really struggled with this race an awful lot, so I'm pleased that you both said about how competitive it is in here. But that's why I'm going for the each way play with Valsad, who is another one who unfortunately falls into those recent run categories then of 27 days since we last saw him. But I just can't see him not running well. I know he's double entered and he may well go to Bath then the following day, because Safi's jocked up there as well over 10 furlongs. But I hope he comes here all the same on the back of that success last time out over a mile 4 at Southwell. That was just his 4th start as well for Jamie Osborne, previously with the Charltons. But he didn't exactly lose his form as such, for all that the form figures would say to you otherwise for his last few runs for his previous yard. But it has been really good to see him properly rediscover his best form in those 4 starts, because he did have his excuses on his penultimate start and he was beaten as favourite then. But last time out, really well positioned throughout, wasn't a true gallop, he was always prominent. £5 rise, I think, is very fair for that. Hopefully he can translate that form to Kempton now, his first run at this track. But 14-1, I thought, though, why not have a go each way then with him, as we switch back to Kelso again for the 3 o'clock handicap chase. 5 odds and over 3 mile 2 in this one. 2 shots of tequila bidding for the hat trick, your 9-4 market leader. But for all that, Dave, we don't have as big a field to go at in this race in comparison to our previous ones. Got a whole load of characters we know plenty about.
Yeah, definitely. It's a proper intertwined race as well. It's like a little cake mixture of all the vital ingredients to make a race that you don't really know what's going to come out. Or at least I wouldn't when I'm baking a cake. I'll pop it in, hope it comes out like a cake. Who knows if it'll come out like a cookie. But this is a good one, right? Does he know last time when he had those first time sheet pieces as well, sparked him into some form. Some scope was with him as well right till the end. That horse, and does he know, pulled well clear of everything else. So that was nice to see. I don't know whether we'll better back it up though. And if you use that horse some scope as like a little bit of a line of form, 2 shots of tequila was only like half a length behind him when he was £15 lower than when he went against Does He Know. So I'd say that's better form of the 2 of those that have faced that horse. Your Own Story was beaten by 2 shots of tequila the last day. Your Own Story is unfortunately one of these horses that has been put on the naughty list. Bad Your Own Story, because he's got loads of ability as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't win very often. He's only won the once, and that win came over 3 miles, 7 furlongs. this isn't that far a trip, although the ground would be testing if they went on and had to swim around. I thought he'd be like the next Karatz Rambler when he ran at Aintree in that novices handicap chase at the beginning of last season, but that was the start of the signs of him probably not being as genuine. And because he is on the naughty list, he's one of those that's so strongly on there. If there's a race with your own story, I could never bet him, but I could never bet against him either. So unfortunately, all that said, I would sit this out if it was on, but it probably won't be on anyway. So I've just wasted a couple of minutes of everybody's time.
Not at all, because this was the point then of today. I was covering just in case then. So no, you haven't wasted anyone's time with that one. But on the naughty step, Andrew, when you're baking, does it come out as a cake and a cookie, and therefore who wins this?
Yeah, I didn't realize we were doing baking references this week. I've got my weeks mixed up. So, but I'll have
if you've
some
got
ready.
any to offer, then feel free at this stage.
I'll have some ready for next week, and I'll rise to the occasion.
Hey.
Yeah, boom, boom. Yeah, no strong opinion here. Elvis Mail won this last year. Obviously, would have preferred quicker ground, but he has won on soft and performed with credit on softer going than that. So I'll take his course form over the recent form of Does He Know. But yeah, chances are it'll be off. If it is, I won't be having a bet.
Thanks for that. Exactly. Sound advice that is. Yeah, if a racing isn't on, don't have a bet in it. But that was Kelso's saying handicap chase there. Back to Kempton now for the Queen's Prize handicap, a 0 to 100 handicap for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 3:15. So stayers of the flat to the 4 now. For all that, we've got some dual purpose horses in here as well. So Andrew, who stays festival?
Yeah, this is very similar to the Rosebery handicap, in that those horses who've been running on the all-weather during the winter and had a recent outing tend to underperform. It's sort of run in the past 6 weeks, 1 from 43 in the past 10 renewals. I think I've got my stats mixed up with the Rosebery. The Rosebery, those who'd raced in the last 28 days, 1 from 42. So yeah, similar sort of very low strike rate. So that would be a bit of a concern for one or two of these, such as Aquam, who only raced 8 days ago and is fairly prominent to the betting. There were 2 on the radar here. Well, 2. I mean, Novel Legend. The price is just a bit too skinny now, particularly for a James Fanshawe horse that you know is going to be ridden chilly and is going to need all the luck going and probably be a bit too far off the pace. The 2 interesting ones were trained by predominantly jumps trainers. Tritonic for Alan King, who has always shown a preference for right-handed tracks, whether be on the flat or over hurdles. Well beaten at Cheltenham last time. That was back in December. Was a winner at right-handed wing canter the time before. And Circuit Breakers, fascinating. 260,000 guineas it cost. I mean, this is an incredible sum of money to pay for a horse who won a Windsor Maiden and a Class 4 Windsor handicap of 83. He was rated 87 when finishing second to Urban Outlook at Haydock when we last saw him in late September. He's the sort of horse you thought, well, maybe he's going to go to Australia or well, perhaps not Hong Kong, because their races over short distances generally, having won over 2 miles. But here he is in Kempton for John Joe O'Neill. So you assume he's been brought to go jumping. But 260,000 quid, it just seems slightly bizarre. Maybe that's a typo on the Racing Post website. It's 26,000 guineas, but yeah, he's got a tongue tie on for the first time. John Joe's got a reasonable enough record with new acquisitions. So I thought from store one, Circuit Breaker might be able to run a race here, but I want to wait to the last minute and see what the market does. But I'll take Circuit Breaker over Tritonic, but it's a race I haven't got a very strong opinion in.
Yeah, it's fascinating though, isn't it? But an Alan King horse on a Saturday, you've done a whole role.
It's not a hurdler though, not a hurdler.
It's not a hurdler.
So he probably doesn't train it. He's probably in Barbados or something.
I feel like we've done a whole role reversal in the last few weeks then of this show with Andrew with these kingy horses, but it's on the flat though, more importantly. And Circuit Breaker, yeah, 200. I don't know these owners at all either. I don't know these colours. Tanzanite, these owners as well, who have splashed for cash. But yeah, fascinating to see that John Joe's got this horse and going straight to the flat then. So Dave, were you looking at the jump trainers, the dual purposes, flat based, or what angle were you taking?
I mean, my horse has jumped a hurdle, so that's a nice little in. And at least Andrew's on a similar path in this race. That makes me feel a little bit better. I think they had Mount Fuji Park as well, that Tanzanite. Don't know if they bought that after a little period, but yeah, I mean, I'll say this now, and obviously it will go and win. Wouldn't be interested in that circuit breaker in the slightest.
The Melbourne Cup might be. I'm just looking at the breeding, like a Fastnet Rock on the dam sides. I'm just wondering if the Melbourne Cup is the long-term target.
Mm.
You heard it here first.
I'd imagine it's not the 3:15 on Saturday. At least I'm hoping it's not. But these are the starts to it, right? You get these legendary horses that will go and do something, and they've all got to start somewhere. Novel Legend that Andrew touched on as well, like from the price perspective, it is probably short, but he could be the one that just slaps you in the face to say, "Wow, he's like the real good horse." Especially when we talk about some jumpy ones in here. He was last seen in a Group 1 last time out, albeit like he was well beaten and a reasonably big price as well. Got a course and distance win on this type of going as well. It was standard to slow there, but that was off a £17 lower mark. If you remember in the summer last year, when it was actually not really summer because it was just wet ground at Goodwood, wasn't it? But he had to give the now 108 rated Sweet William £6 when he was only 3 lengths behind him. And that was when he was off 88 for like a £20 lower mark. Then Sweet William did go and bolt up at Goodwood after. So I think Novel Legend in terms of like the real flat horse in it is miles clears of them. And like Andrew said, though, like the way that he's going to be ridden enough to come off the pace, it's going to be probably hard watching, but it might actually end up suiting. Anyway, enough about the one that I don't like. I do like Novel Legend, to be fair. I think he's got a proper chance. But the one that I'm going to go for Mariah Carey fans out there, is Sweet Fantasy. Trained by James Owen. And if you look at the last couple of weeks, right, again, you can use stats and like tweak them to make them look as however you want, really. But he's had 7 runners in the last 2 weeks that have been 9 to 2 or shorter. He's had 5 winners, a second and a third. The last one that won was Tamaris, which was partnered by Aidan Keeley, came in £3, which is what he's doing here on Sweet Fantasy. Now, she is going to need a career best effort. I've got no doubt about that. But she's only had a couple of runs for the new yard. Both of those came over hurdles. She's now rated 126 over hurdles, and she runs on the flat here off of 87. Now, normally the golfing number that I'd go for is if it's sort of 55 or 60 plus. So she's not quite out there, but I think she's quite good. And then even when you look at the weight difference with her and Tritonic, she's maybe rated like £8 or £9 shorter than her, but she's getting like a full 10-ish or in and around the same sort of numbers in here. So 10 from like the ratio. I think she's on an all right mark. Her only foray into Class 2 company for Rafe Beckett was over 1 mile 2 when she was 4th. She faded at the line, but if you've got a horse that stays and they're running over there, when they're fading, it's not because they don't stay, it's just because they're not quick enough. Never ran over 2 miles when she was with Rafe Beckett. 1 mile 4 furlong was the furthest she ever went. It's a bit of a leap of faith with her, and she's not exactly attractive price this year at the front of the market, but I still can't get away from her trying 2 miles for the first time on the flat. I know it doesn't necessarily always translate, but she's the type of horse in here that I think, especially if they can force it off the front end, could just go and absolutely bolt up in here. So I liked her before the race sort of got like cut up into the field that it is, although it's a good sized field to be fair. I don't like her price so much, so I'm hoping she'll drift out a little bit. But Sweet Fantasy would be a relatively strong fancy in the 3:15.
Going back to the flat again for James Owen, 100 to 30, Sweet Fantasy in that 3:15 at Kempton here. And again, another each way plus race with 4 places on offer. I'm going to try and utilize that for all that. I'm not obviously buoyed by the fact that he's getting the 8-day turnaround for Aquan then in here after what Andrew was saying previously about these recent performances. I've sided with 2 of those in races where it does not apparently favour them according to the stats. But yeah, I mean, the quick turnaround is never an easy task for a stayer, is it, at any sort of point? So 8-day turnaround for him. I knew that was the biggest question he was going to have to answer. But when Ian Williams does something like this, he doesn't do it overly lightly. And now he hasn't run at Kempton before either, but all weather tracks so far, they've all come alike to him with surfaces and configurations. And that success the last time out at Lingfield, I thought was a really likeable one, taking his form forwards yet again, back up to 2 miles. £4 rise looks feasible for him to overcome. And I don't think the rise back to a Class 2 should pose of any sorts of issues either, because he finished second in this grade on that penultimate outing, where he could be marked up for a whole load of reasons. Then just 1 length behind the smart, when on song, Max Vega. So he's a consistent horse, more likely to give his running than anything else. And a nice enough price at 10 to 1 then to boot as well. So again, I'm trying to utilize the each way concessions and the extra places that we have on offer. Right, we're back to Kelso now for our final scheduled race in this section. This is the Herring Queen Series final, Mares and Novices Handicap Hurdle, 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. And then the double green have a very strong hand in this one with Bruccio and Eloi Du Puy, both for the Crawfords, Dave. So double green, are they going to have another big win?
Yeah, and they've created the race to suit the narrative of the fact that like Eloi Du Puy would be one of the the stupidly strongest fancy I'd ever have of a horse that's rated 116. Tempers enthusiasm when they're like to the lower end of the scale. I don't want to be rude to him, but it's just I wonder if there's a reason why they don't fulfill their potential. But Christ almighty, how is she 116 rated? I know obviously the race probably won't be there, but after this we recorded, I'm going to drive up to Kelso. I'm going to see if I can try and siphon some of the water off the track so that she gets to race. Because if you think about it, right, when she's run over hurdles before this last run, she's just been running in graded company. Let me run through the names of the horses she's been behind. It doesn't start off the best, but fun. She was in that Honeysuckle Grade 1 Mares Novices Hurdle, wasn't she, at the last weekend? Then she was behind Corbett's Cross. Then she's behind Irish Point. And then she's behind the Irish Grand National favourite, Nick Rocket. She was only 3/4 of a length, I think it was, behind Jatara. That horse came third in that aforementioned Grade 1 Honeysuckle Mares Novices Hurdle. She was given her £3 as well. I can't believe she's off a mark of 116. She got dropped £4 for that recent run as well, where they just didn't seem to make too much, I don't know, they didn't seem to care whether she won that race or got beat, for all that she was short priced. Sweet Fantasy was the one that beat her as well, so that's a nice little line in there. But that's not the reason why I like the two of them. Eloi Du Puy, I thought was definitely set up for this. Bruccio was brought down in that novice hurdle last time. They had a handicap option for her, but they chose to go for that route because she came up more favourably on the figures. I think she's in it to keep the weight down. She's pushed 4 of them out of the handicap. She was seen at the Dublin Racing Festival when she obviously won at a reasonable price, didn't she? But I don't know if she's capable of winning off of 132 for all that I poo-poo the ones that are in like a lower class. I cannot believe Eloi Du Puy is in a handicap, although it's not going to be on, off 116, especially when it's all against the girls as well. And the worst part of all of this is the prices will probably be gone because it'll be abandoned by the time people watch this tomorrow. She's 13-2. Like, I'm very close to wanting to emphasize that even more. I would be happy to smash up Eloi Du Puy if they run. So like I said, I'm going to go to Kelso to siphon off some water in the hope that I can make the track go ahead. She would absolutely bolt up if this ran. Even if they ran it in a boat, she'd be fine. But yeah, it's not going to go on. But poor Eloi Du Puy. Let's see what they try and do with her next time, because she will win a big or a reasonable handicap, I suppose, of 116. It's worth 51,000 as well. They've got to get it rescheduled for us. Anyway, that's enough. I'll stop.
Class prize money on offer, isn't there? Get the flippers out, Lily, right? Because she is 13-2, and Dave is going to be distraught, Andrew, if Kelso doesn't go ahead just for this race alone. So I hope you have as bullish opinion in this one.
Yeah, well, this is like arguing about sort of past champions. You know, who would have won out of Arkle and Desert Orchid? Well, it doesn't matter because it will never happen. It's completely pointless. And But yeah, poor old Dave. Yeah, when Kelso's abandoned, he's going to be absolutely gutted. But I do hope the meeting goes ahead, because I'm fascinated to see how this one gets on. But I'll be quite keen on Politacus here for Fergal O'Brien. Fergal O'Brien's got an incredible record at Kelso: 13 winners from 31 runners. In handicaps, 8 from 18, a profit of £11.50. Now, he's had 2 runners turn up at Kelso in first-time cheap pieces. Both of them won. And Politacus was in my tracker earlier in her career. She has some great form in bumpers, particularly that 5th of 16 behind Queen's Gamble in the listed mares bumper at Shelton's November meeting a couple of seasons ago. She was 125-1 that day. The yard had Bonte, the 132nd favourite, and you know, it was clear that you know, that was the first string in terms of you know, how she was going to be ridden. She's never got involved. Only went down by 10 lengths. She won at Ascot a couple of runs later. She went to Aintree that year in the Grade 2 mares bumper, ran behind stablemate Dysol Enos, and finished 4th of 20 at 33-1. Cracking run. Now, over hurdles, I think I tipped her up on her hurdling debut. She got chinned as the 2-1 favourite, finished 4th. Better next time. No, nada. And then, of course, what happens by the time I've given up? The first time tongue tie goes on, and she wins at Huntingdon at 4-1. That was last time out, the last month on soft ground. And, you know, now the cheap pieces are going on in addition to the tongue tie, and perhaps they've got to the bottom of her. Then yeah, both those wins have come in the sort of latter stages of the season. So I think Politacus can make hay while the rain falls.
Oh, okay. Politacus 8-1 then in this one. But again, a good case made should this race actually get the go ahead. And yeah, 4 places on offer then in this one as well. But it is that competitive with Bet MGM. So that's the end of our scheduled races. Sandra, I'll go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else? What's going ahead?
Right, at Kempton in the 345, I was with Aril, the James Taylor horse, 2 from 2 here at Kempton. And in the 455 at Kempton, Azure Angel, this is one of the sort of regrets of the punting year so far, not tipping this one up last time out. Now, this is a horse who's clearly better on synthetics as opposed to turf. She reappeared at Newcastle on the 20th of February, and was 3 from 3 on the all-weather going into that, 0 from 2 on turf. And all she did was drift. I think at the 5-day stage, she was something like 7th in favourite or 4-1. She's gone off 9-1 SP, and she's won, by half a length, but comfortably one going away, according to the Racing Post. So she's 4 from 4 on the all-weather, and daughter of Harry Angel, not best born in stall 10, but I still think she's way ahead of these and can make it 5 from 5 on the all-weather.
There's a couple then to go at. Azure Angel, good case made for the latter one of which in the 455 at Kempton. Dave, anything from anywhere else for you?
There'll be one, because obviously we're getting very close to Aintree now. The top class horses will be to the fore. That's going to be some filthy meeting. If you just want to get excited on Saturday and just build up to the appetite for that, the 115 in Auteuil will see Ile Francais running the Masters Prix Marais, I think it's that. It's a grade 2 race over 2 mile 6. He's going to obviously absolutely bolt up, but it's just nice to see the good horses out. So go watch him. I mean, obviously, gamble responsibly, probably like betting because it'd be like 10s on, but it's nice to see the good horses coming. Next week's going to be beautiful, isn't it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday of Aintree. We can have a little lull this weekend in preparation for that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's probably actually quite nice just to have like a lesser weekend then to build up to Aintree next week. I walked the course then yesterday as well, so plenty more Aintree content to come your way next week and plenty more insights with that. But for now, your naps of this weekend. Actually, no, I was going to say to Dave for you to go first. I'm going Choisya in the 205, the Snowdrop Filly Stakes at Kempton. I was getting in there first. Dave, sorry about that, your turn. But I think we know where we're probably going to go with you anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, the meeting's not going to be on, but if it was on Lily de Berlais, I'd be having obviously gamble responsibly, but I'd be having a healthy bet on her at 30, so I think she's a juicy one. But for the fact that it won't be, and we're doing the naps video, I'm going Choisya as well. We'll get it all in. Triple crown.
We'll allow it because Kelso's probably not going to go ahead. So on this occasion, happy to let that go, and we're doubling up then, Andrew. So you're welcome to join the party too.
Well, I'll treble up and go Choisya. I won't go Choisya, I'll go Choisya. And just to make it a bit different, but yeah, it's a triple nap, I think.
Oh God, I don't think we've ever done this before either. This is scary territory for us, right? Then, okay, we're all on the. We can't even say a name properly, but we're all on the Choisya, Choisya, whatever the other one was, for the nap trick. Hopefully, then we will all land that with her in the Snowdrop Filly Stakes. But that's everything from us on this week's show. So big thank you to Andrew and today for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to you for watching. Big thank you to our sponsors, Bet MGM. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. We'll speak to you again next week.